Okay. Okay. So this should be interesting because you have just informed me before we started that you are coming down, I guess we'll say.
Yeah.
So what's interesting about this is that Eternals obviously has been a movie I've been kind of procrastinating on for quite some time. And the reason it doesn't have a video yet on this channel is because pretty much right when it came out, I was just like in absolute burnout territory. And it just really, that was when like I had done videos for like 2 straight months, and it was like, I can't deal with Eternals right now. So that's why this is happening now. And since you're the person that I usually do all the Marvel stuff with, and you, because you're obviously a DC person, your Batman poster's not in the shot like it was last time, but you're very there's Lego
There's
Batman.
Lego Batman. He'll work.
You seem to have really transitioned over to a Marvel person. Into, not that you've abandoned DC, but you're very very into Marvel. Kind of with it now that we're in the MCU, really deep.
Yeah, not as much the comics. Like I have a guidebook that I watch like all the Disney Plus shows with. So that way if somebody pops up, I could be like, oh, that's this person. And it's amazing how like the characters are using have such small parts in this encyclopedia. Like Captain America has like 6 pages, Spider-Man has 6 pages, but some of these people, it's just like a little teeny paragraph. And it's like, really, we made a big deal out of you for that. Like Ego is a planet that lives that big. It's like you got Kurt Russell to come out for that big.
That could also be the power of James Gunn and his expanding of these characters.
Oh man, I haven't watched it yet, but I hear Peacemaker's pretty good.
Yeah, but I think I'm waiting for it to end, and then I'll just watch the whole thing.
Yeah, man, yeah. I mean, they released 3 of them right off the rip.
I haven't quite been paying attention to the release, but I do plan on watching it for sure.
It's like DC's still trying to one up Marvel because WandaVision was like, we'll give you the first 2 episodes of Peacemaker's like, fuck that, you're getting 3.
Yeah.
Peacemaker don't play.
Were you aware of any of the Eternals prior to this?
No. I had heard from somewhere that Thanos wasn't Eternal, but I wasn't sure if that was correct or if that was like well, what do they call it? Like an Elseworld story or a multiverse story. That's the word I'm looking for. I thought maybe it was that I'd heard he's been an Eternal, but I guess Harry Styles kind of confirmed it for me at the end of this one. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's funny that we say spoiler. I was trying to figure out if we should do a spoiler warning or not, because I feel like we're the last 2 people in the world to see this. It feels like it's been around for so
Disney
long.
Plus. Disney Plus helped me out with that and Black Widow.
And Shang-Chi, right?
Yeah, Shang-Chi's awesome. Dude, I love me some Shang-Chi.
So what was interesting about this was that it was one of a very small amount of Marvel products at this point that didn't get great reviews. And as soon as I heard why, not that I was letting the reviews shape me before I even went in, but it's just like I could imagine where they were coming from when it seemed like a lot of it was the fact that there's a lot of characters in this to introduce all at once.
Dude, there's so many. There's like every time like they'd have a scene with a new one, I would be like, fuck, I forgot that dude was even here. I think I counted, and if I remember correctly, I think there's 9 of them, which is like a fucking lot to like just say, here, follow these guys for 2.5 hours. It's like I don't know anything about them.
It's funny you say that because I think there's actually 10.
Oh shit.
Which means there's one you're forgetting still.
God damn it. I don't know which one that is.
All right,
okay, there's Salma Hayek.
Yeah.
And Angelina Jolie and Druig. Fastos. I want to say Phosphorus, but it's Fastos. The fast one. Sprite. Icarus. Cersei. The Gilgamesh. and Kingo.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
All right, end the video here. It ain't getting better than that. I can't believe I remembered all them.
I can't either.
Holy shit.
I think it says something, because I was going to bring this up as a point, but I think it really says something right off the bat right here, that Cersei's supposed to be the leader and the main character, and you mentioned her eighth. That's
Yeah. She's busy fucking around with the Black Knight. Which I only knew. See, this is it. I'm not a huge into the Marvel comics right now. I have to use reference points for everyone. But the reason that I knew that Kit Harington was a guy called the Black Knight is because of Lego Marvel superheroes. That's how I know. I even know he's Black Knight 3.
This is what you're saying right now is news to me.
You didn't know that?
Because I was like, I know.
That's why he has that sword at the end.
Yes, I know the voice he heard was supposed to be Blade.
Yeah. Do you know what the subtitles called it?
Mysterious Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like if I hadn't heard that before, I was trying to figure out if I could have recognized Mahershala Ali's voice if I didn't already know that was Blade.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't know what the Kit Harington thing was, what the sword was. So that
He's a Black Knight.
Okay.
I don't know how he's related to Blade. I have to do more research for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, the MCU also claimed that Tony Stark invented Ultron, and in the comics it was Hank Pym. So I mean, they may not even be related.
He said, yeah.
Which I'm surprised, because if anybody complained about that, like in canon, like I thought Hank Pym invented Ultron. They should have had Hank Pym in one of the Ant-Man movies say, "And Tony stole my idea with Ultron. You see how he fucked that up?"
Yeah.
That would have cleared that right up.
And we were talking before we even started recording about how all over the place is, because there's two popular opinions of this movie. There's that it's easily one of the MCU's worst, and it's all over the place, and it's an absolute mess. And then naturally, there's a rather new opinion of it's underrated, and people are being too hard on it. I'm not really sure which in that camp I am in. Probably, maybe a mixture of both. I'm not crazy about it.
I have found the best way for me to rate these is would I go back and rewatch them when I go back and rewatch all the Marvel movies. And I found out there's only one movie. The last time I did that, Spider-Man notwithstanding, because Spider-Man's not on Disney Plus, Spider-Man didn't get a fair shake. But there was only one movie that I skipped going back and rewatching everything in the order it was released.
Which one's that?
I skipped Captain Marvel.
See,
because I didn't want to deal with it at the time.
See, I think Captain Marvel's kind of underrated personally. Once again, not crazy about it.
Yeah.
But I certainly don't mind it. And I feel like it's an easy watch.
I don't think it was so much against Captain Marvel. I think I just really wanted to get to Endgame.
That, and the first 20 minutes or so of Captain Marvel's jumbled to a horrible fault. But like the first 20 minutes is hard to get through.
Like I remember not being able to see very well. I can't remember where I want to. It has to do with he's not going to be able to see very well out there, Cotton.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just not in a state to connect that joke yet.
Well, I was wondering while I was watching it and not being that crazy about it, but it's like knowing that all of these characters are here. We even lose a couple of them. So
yeah, we do.
So it's like, okay,
it's like the movie was like, yeah, we know you won't remember all of them, so we'll start making it easier.
I mean, I feel like Icarus could be completely dead, but I got the sense that maybe not.
He also might have been a chicken shit and turned away from the sun at the last minute.
But I was thinking, since this is such an introductory movie to so many characters, if this is going to be another Thor: The Dark World, where it doesn't feel very impactful right now, but if there'll be future movies, we're coming back to it, we'll realize how important it was.
Like Age of Ultron?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Marvel has this knack for saying, okay, you didn't think this movie was that great? Okay, well, we're going to make it important, so you have to watch it anyway.
Yeah. And it's really funny we talked about that being the way it plays out, because it was like right at the moment when I was thinking that, and I was like, all right, it'll be interesting to see, like, how these characters branch off. We'll get to see these characters in other contexts, and we'll see how it goes. And like right after that is when Gilgamesh did it.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, maybe not him, I guess. You look like you were
I'm
prepping
good.
to say something.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Do you know, and I don't want to be petty, but do you know when I realized I felt like a lot of this movie might be a struggle?
Hmm.
Literally the opening.
Oh man, that didn't take
because,
long.
because there's something, as far as I know, there's something that the Marvel movies don't do. Black Panther did it in a really great way, and I think that's why you would expect more out of a movie after Black Panther, and that is having the prologue, but the prologue is the scrolling text.
Prologue.
I feel like
Prologue. I was sitting here thinking, I was like, expositional narration. Like I was trying to think of a term. Prologue works. Please.
the scrolling text for a prologue is so fucking dated, and every time, even when that was like a really big thing to do, like in the late 90s and early 2000s, every time a movie started with scrolling text, I was just immediately bored.
Wait a minute. You're talking about the 80s and 90s for scrolling text. Are we going to ignore that it's been a thing since at least Star Wars?
Well, Star Wars has a way of making it like a trademark, and plus you have like the score, you have the whole sweeping score, and the way
I know Star Wars tells it like it's the most important story you're ever going to hear in your life.
yeah, and they do it in a way that gets you amped up. Like
Yeah.
even if we're in a bad state of Star Wars right now because of like Rise of Skywalker and stuff like that. I know some people think it's slightly before, but I still like what there's still nothing like the Star Wars scroll that makes you feel like that movie magic feeling that you get inside you. But
You
then
think it's magnified in a theater setting?
oh, it very well could be. But it feels like every random ancient times action movie in like the 90s and early 2000s started with the scroll, and it's like, I'm not taking this in. And it's like
Dude, I just thought of a funny joke. So you remember how we're going to tangent. Do you remember how I told you I've been watching a lot of The Simpsons?
yeah.
You saying Star Wars makes me think of this line that comic book guy said about the first Star Wars. He didn't say it about the first Star Wars, but I think of the first Star Wars. Is he comes out of a movie and he goes, terrible. I will see it only 3 more times.
Isn't that exactly how it goes down?
Yeah, it's so accurate.
That was literally like, we can shit on Star Wars fans for being that way because they are, but that's literally me with like Suicide Squad. It's like, I will find something in, I mean, most people do that just because they want to hate it more, but I'm like, I really want to try to find something, but I just keep finding worse things. And it is
You're mining for gold and you just keep coming across shit.
yeah. But here, there is one thing people were really hyping up, and I've seen it mentioned as a positive, even from people that didn't think highly of it. And that's that Chloe Zhao directed it, who just won an Oscar for Nomadland. And the thing about
I didn't realize that.
yeah.
Oh.
The person that made Eternals literally just won Best Picture.
Oh man, she'll be fine.
Yeah, and she has this, her whole trademark essentially is just like naturalism, like natural lighting and natural environments and stuff like that.
Like Malik Light.
Yeah, very much like that.
Oh man, I'm on a roll.
And people are saying you can get that in this sometimes. I wasn't. Yeah, there's like, some sunsets in there, but I wasn't really getting that vibe like people were talking about. It all still felt very the setting still felt rather fake. But that could also be, I just talked about this in another video, that could just be the digital look.
Uh-huh.
where even if you shoot something as real as possible, just the idea of it being shot on digital can still make it look fake on a screen,
Yeah.
which might hinder it. But yeah, like she's so into the whole thing. Is, you know how Nomadland is just Frances McDormand going from place to place, being like essentially not like, I can't remember what they call it in the movie. They don't call it homeless, but she's a nomad. She just goes from place to place. Nomad was shown in IMAX theaters. Nomadland was.
Oh man.
And you could see why. But what did you think of this visually?
I thought there were parts of it that did look very like, especially when they were in the past, it felt very like, oh man, I don't know if I want to put this on this movie or not. It felt very like the settings for like a Brendan Fraser mummy movie.
Yeah. Most people would take that as a compliment, so it's up to you.
Okay. But like what I mean is like kind of like almost like cartoonish, like.
So you mean like Mummy Returns?
Oh man, that's a
Or
lot
not?
of.
Okay, so somewhere between the Mummy and the Mummy Returns.
Yeah, let's go there because I don't want to go full Mummy Returns because that's just mean. Like,
yeah, because the CGI in this is really good.
Yeah, there's some cool shit.
Which surprised. I mean, there's some shoddiness in like when they're fighting, and you can see like their bodies look very animated. But overall, the CGI is pretty good.
You want to see animated bodies? Go back and rewatch Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone in the broom flying scene. They're like fucking cartoons.
Yeah, people like to give shit to the final fight in Black Panther, but it's like it gets significantly worse. I know there's 17 years between those movies, but still.
Yeah, there is.
I will still defend Black Panther. But what I was saying about Black Panther about the opening was, remember Black Panther's opening with like the sand forming, and that's how they told the backstory.
Yeah, it was like telling it through a picture book.
It's like, how amazing was that compared to Scroll? And and by the way, the Scroll is all stuff they mention later anyway.
Pointless scroll. Oh man.
And you want to talk about getting information in a really terrible way. What did you think about the introduction of Cersei and Ikaris? Not only the introduction of their characters, but also their love, like a love at first sight thing. I believe it was simply they look down and she says, "Isn't it beautiful?" And his response to "Isn't it beautiful?" is, "I'm Ikaris." And naturally her response to that is, "I'm Cersei." That's it.
In real life, she'd be like, I didn't ask you your fucking name. I don't care.
It's like, are you okay?
She'd be like Tommy Lee Jones in The Fugitive. I don't care.
It turns out he's a fucking Pokemon, and all he can do is just say his own name.
Oh man.
Oh no, he's Groot. He's Groot. Like everything he just says is, "I'm Ikaris."
Dude, it makes me wonder, like, do the Eternals and the Guardians know each other? Like, I know they know Thor. That was one of the questions I had watching the movies. I was like, do these guys know Thor, and does he know them? They were name dropping everything in this movie. Apparently, according to this movie, like Batman being a property is Marvel canon.
Yes. How trippy is that Batman and Superman are fictional characters in this universe?
Oh man, I just wonder what Batman they got over there. Like, is he talking about Keaton? Is he talking about Affleck? Is he talking about Bale? Is he talking about Adam West?
Or another one entirely.
Val Kilmer?
Another one entirely that we don't have in this universe.
Oh man. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, so they've got like Josh Hartnett for the Nolan era. Who was considered before Keaton? Alec Baldwin?
Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
And Alec Baldwin and Bill Murray.
Yeah, so those are all the Batmen that they have.
Oh man.
So I do think there's something they do touch on this a little bit that I like. And that is the fact that have you heard of Only Lovers Left Alive?
No.
It is a Jim Jarmusch movie where Tom Hiddleston and Tilda Swinton play vampires.
Uh-huh.
And they've been vampires for so long that the movie is just them kind of being bored with life because they've done literally everything there is to do. So they just
Oh man,
chill
that sounds like a Tilda Swinton movie.
out. That's kind of what's going on with them here when we start off.
Yeah.
Was there all the way up to this point, and it's like, especially with Gilgamesh, where it's just like they just really have nothing else to do. They've expanded as much as they possibly can, and the only person that seems to really be living it up is Kingo at this point.
Kingo just embraces it.
I do love that too, the idea that he's like multiple generations of non-aging actors. and I really like the whole idea of when he's talking to Sprite, he's talking about like watching her illusions is what made him take to movies when they started existing.
Yeah.
There's some stuff in here that works.
There's some good stuff.
It's a little
not every Marvel movie is good, but I think every Marvel movie has some good things.
Yeah. And I'm really curious. Just by odds in general and how odds work, at some point we're going to get a Marvel movie that just sucks to its absolute core, and I'm curious how that's going to happen.
Yeah, because like Kevin Feige takes such good care of it.
Because I feel like I don't know. I still don't know how to feel about this one yet, though. Like, I don't want to say anything definitive since it's still fresh to us. But I feel like you can almost instantaneously say this is towards the bottom.
I think it's the lowest rated Rotten Tomatoes one.
That would make sense.
I think Thor: The Dark World's right above it, and then maybe Black Widow. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But Black Widow gave us Yelena, and after watching Hawkeye, Yelena is fine. I'm happy to have that out of Black Widow.
Yeah, I think we mentioned that in the Hawkeye video, where it's like once she was introduced into Hawkeye, it's like, oh, Black Widow did have a point.
Yeah.
I still like Black Widow, but maybe I don't know.
I like it fine. I like Ray Winston as the villain.
Yeah. Underutilized, but there was something though.
Yeah, but then when you try to overutilize Ray Winston, you get Beowulf.
Oh no.
Oh man, I went there. I haven't even seen Beowulf. I'm just going by reputation.
Yeah, this is we're talking about Disney in this video, so I won't even bring up like the War Zone or Nil by Mouth or anything. Don't like if you've come across this video and you're on the younger side, don't seek out the War Zone yet. You're not ready.
Dude, he's used a good amount in The Departed.
Yeah.
That's a good like Ray Winston sweet spot.
And talking about the criticisms that these movies receive, there's a lot of people that don't like these movies as well, and how they think they're repetitive and they're childish and stuff like that, and there's no stakes, and it's the actors have to feel ridiculous. I've been able to ignore that, but there's one particular aspect of this movie where I can see what those people see when they're like, this is too ridiculous for me, I don't want to watch these. To give a good example of this, when Benedict Cumberbatch plays Doctor Strange and he has to bring his shields up, that is clearly, like, obviously in the making, that's Benedict Cumberbatch against a green screen just moving his arms, which must feel ridiculous unless you're Cumberbatch is very committed, as you see when he does like the Smog motion capture. But at the end of the day, but there's still, not only is it bad, one particular badass moment that comes to mind is when they face off with Ebony Maw in Infinity War. When he says you're trespassing. And it's like when he whips out the shields, it's like, that's fucking badass. And when I don't see Benedict Cumberbatch waving his arms around in front of a green screen. I see Doctor Strange whipping his shields out.
It's because Doctor Strange is awesome.
On the opposite side of that, when Kingo is using his powers throughout this movie, all I can see very clearly is Kumail Nanjiani in front of a green screen, literally just doing finger guns, and it looks unconvincing. And it's like the effects are there, just like Doctor Strange's shields are there,
Hmm.
but there's a clear difference here, and I'm not quite sure what it. I don't know if it's because I don't know if it's because it seems like such a minimal power to have what's essentially finger guns. But there's something about Cumberbatch's presence where he makes me fully believe that those shields are there. And I don't even think it's anything against Kumail Nanjiani. I think it's just the power itself. It's hard to. It just. It. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like when you watch the Harry Potter documentary and they talk about how sometimes they felt foolish waving the wands around.
Yeah. And I feel like Cumberbatch
And
never
like
feels foolish.
and in the Star Wars movies, Ewan McGregor makes the lightsaber noises when he's fighting.
Yeah. Can you? Does it not seem like Kumail Nanjiani might as well just be saying pew pew whenever he does something?
Dude, did you see the story that came out where Leonardo DiCaprio's ex-girlfriend said the worst date she ever went on with him was he took her to a theater and made her watch Star Wars and he ran around fighting everybody making lightsaber noises?
I have heard that that's how he behaves.
Dude, I want to watch Leonardo DiCaprio act a fucking fool. Like I
Oh,
want to
there's
see it.
plenty of
By
it.
the way, to go with I want to grab this thought and bring it back before I lose it. I have another theory as to the review situation of Black Widow and Eternals.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. Now I got to put it in pieces, so I may need you to help connect the dots. Okay. Keep me on track. Okay. So these movies came out during a pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Who's going to go out in a pandemic and watch this stuff? Hardcore comic fans, right?
Hmm.
Who are these movies' typical harshest critics? Hardcore comic fans. There was no casual audience to bounce that off of because the casuals didn't want to risk going out in a pandemic to watch these movies. What about that?
I was trying to remember. I remember Eternals.
I feel like it took me forever to make my point.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I know Eternals made a lot for what it is.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. There's something that breaks that trend. There's something that debunks my theory. Shang-Chi.
Yeah, Shang-Chi did really well.
Shang-Chi's so good. I can't wait to do a video in the future where I can talk about Shang-Chi in full because I've got some things to say.
Yeah, we'll have to. I feel like we'll find a way, I'm sure.
I got some stuff to say about Shang-Chi, and it's good stuff. That train fight, oh man. The train fight's so good.
Where do you stand on always do you think it's getting a little tiresome at this point, the way these movies have to like answer to certain criticisms that are kind of overused? Like, it seems like right after we got the first Avengers movie, the criticism of every single individual movie was, why aren't the Avengers taking part in this? And now it seems like every movie has to have some clumsy explanation of why. Not clumsy explanation, but clumsily delivered explanation of why the Avengers aren't taking part in this.
I will give Eternals a pass on this because that statement does end up playing a factor later.
I think my only problem with that is that they give us the explanation twice. The first time when Kit Harington asks, and then later on when it's actually more relevant, which they probably could have saved it for.
Yeah.
But it's like they were just. It seems like they were really desperate to introduce Kit Harington's character.
Mm-hmm.
There's so, like his scenes are so fucking bare bones. Like this character has nothing to talk about, so he just talks about like the previous movies.
Yeah, it's like he's our catch-up guy.
Yeah.
But I do love the fact, like I remember when I was watching the movie and I was like, they said that. He was like, where were you guys when Thanos was there? And in my head, I was like, where the fuck were they when Thanos was there? But I thought of something later in the movie. We're kind of jumping around. I apologize. But I thought the explanation they could have used that maybe would have been less clunky is that Thanos snapping the world, half the world out, slowed the birth of that god because there wasn't as much people on Earth.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So like
Yeah, but-
Thanos like screwed over the Celestials by doing that. And then the Avengers ultimately ended up helping the Celestials with their goal by fixing it. Like, and that's what's funny about these Marvel movies. Like, it's kind of becoming like Empire Strikes Back in this way. Is like every movie, like you think something that happened was good, and then you realize, oh man, that wasn't fucking good at all. That ended up being a bad thing.
how that's literally the plot of Civil War.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was, yeah, because Civil War and all that seemed to be following up the criticisms from Man of Steel,
Yeah.
where it was like, man, everybody took out all this building. So now you have every single movie has, oh, we have, here's this reason why all these people were evacuated or why this building was empty. Thank God. It's like
Yes.
I buy the us having to develop by ourselves without the Eternals intervening.
Yeah.
I buy that for sure. I just feel like they almost kind of over explained it because we only needed to get it once and in the
But
context.
here's where Marvel is awesome. One of the things that played out from that in Civil War was we found out that there are people that go around and clean all this shit up. Boom. Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
We gave it a bigger fucking purpose.
What do you yeah, and I do also at first I was concerned about talking about Kid Harington, how he's seems almost nonchalant when he discovers that Cersei is an Eternal.
Dude, he takes that shit so well.
But then I was thinking like, oh yeah, we do have Doctor Strange and Thor and all these people. So it's
Yeah,
like
nothing's unusual in that world anymore.
like he even mentions Doctor Strange like twice before he even finds out.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's like, are you a wizard? Like Doctor Strange?
Yeah. And it's and I guess this is the segue into what we were talking about before about how Chloe Zhao was setting out and Feige was setting out to make Cersei the main character. But I kind of feel like the only reason Cersei feels like the main character is because they keep telling us she's the main character. Because like it's like,
Yeah,
oh
you kind of keep dropping the line, it's your choice, you're the leader. Because Icarus does come across as like their leader.
yeah, post Salma Hayek's death.
Yeah, which happened really early.
Yeah, I thought it was a ruse. Because anytime a
Did you
hero
think she was
dies,
gonna like be a villain, wake up being a villain?
doesn't that happen every time?
Yeah.
And so yeah, I thought
She didn't pull a Carl from Die Hard here.
yeah, but I guess it is they were able to balance that out still with the flashbacks. So it wasn't like they brought Selma Hayek in for like 30 seconds.
Oh, you mean like how Salma Hayek's all over the poster for Once Upon a Time in Mexico?
Yeah,
Dude, I just watched that the other day. That's the only reason I knew to make that reference.
I just did a video on it a couple months ago in that big time frame that burnt me out when Eternals came out.
Oh man, that's one of those movies that I go back and watch when I try to remember if Johnny Depp can do anything besides be in pale makeup and be weird.
Oh yeah, he's got a lot of stuff up his sleeve. He just doesn't fucking use it. But that's
Dude, after watching it though, I'm so disappointed he's not Grindelwald anymore.
yeah. But at the same time, those movies are so off the rails now. I'm not even sure how much I care.
Dude, I'm excited about Mads though.
Yeah.
Mads makes for good stuff.
Well, while we were talking about the flashbacks, did you find it a little I know they keep giving us the years, but did you still find it a little jarring whenever we'd cut back and forth in time in Eternals?
Yeah, sometimes I was like, oh man, we gotta go back and figure out why we're here. Like it's kind of like it kind of reminded me of somebody telling you a story and in the middle they divert and they're like, wait, you need to hear this story first before I continue this story.
Yeah.
And it's really annoying to be told stories that way because by the time you get to like the third flashback, I don't fucking care. I forget the point of your original story.
And that's why we were saying the way we're reviewing this right now is very appropriate to the movie structure.
Yeah.
And because I was thinking, I get that there's some movies like Memento
Hmm.
where like the structure is the story. Like without the structure, it wouldn't be the same.
Hmm.
But here it was like I was trying to decipher, would this movie be as interesting if it was in chronological order? And it would what I'm getting the sense of is that it seemed like there was no faith that the present day scenes were interesting enough. And that's why so much of it is flashing back and forth.
Could it have been that, or could it have been that if you did tell the movie in chronological order, you'd be like 45 minutes in and be like, does this movie have a plot, or are we just time jumping?
Yeah, because and another problem with this is that because there's so many of them, a lot of, especially the present day scenes would just be reintroducing the characters.
Dude,
It's
it
like
takes them so long to get the band back together.
it's like reading it.
Like they should have watched Blues Brothers. Like they got like 6 of them together in like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they didn't do much worse. They did 10 in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of them died. That helped.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so my point with this is I'm not sure if they're good at collecting team members or not.
yeah.
I don't have enough
You-
evidence to make that call.
Were there any like, because I feel like the best way when you have this many characters to decide how you feel about the characters is how they interact with each other. Like when you have
Mhm.
like just kind of two that break away and have their own interactions.
I did like that part of it.
Yeah, like when Kingo runs down Peter Pan to Sprite and like hits a chord.
Yeah.
And I love Kingo's interaction with Druig about it's another one of those quippy scenes that often gets criticized, which I can get because there is a lot of quippiness in this that doesn't quite land.
Mhm.
But for some reason, I just love the interaction between Kingo and Druig, where he's like, he's talking about being all like you're just some big movie star, and Kingo's like, I've also directed stuff like internet content, and just really cutting into him. Druig just says, "How many views?"
Mhm.
Like that interaction is.
I think a big problem with me with the movie was I felt like for the first half hour that none of them really had the personality to keep me invested.
Yeah, and and there's so much going on in the action scenes. It feels like we're barely getting glimpses of what their powers even are.
But at the same time, I just had this thought. This thought just occurred to me. Maybe I'm knocking the characterization because they seem to get personalities the longer they're around people. So I mean, they are like godlike creatures coming to Earth. They are probably going to be kind of wooden until they get like the human experience. So am I jumping the gun by jumping on the movie for that?
And you can say the reason that Kingo has the most identifiable personality is because he's the one that's embraced it the most.
Yeah,
Yeah, I could see that.
yeah. Man, I didn't even think about that until just this moment.
That's why I like this format, is that happens to me all the time. I will discover things about movies in the moment.
Yeah. Dude, I might have just solved one of my major problems with the movie.
But there is something else.
It's like LA Confidential when you figured out the
Yeah.
name
Yeah.
and you went from that's really stupid to oh my god, that's brilliant. Changed your whole perception of the movie.
I noticed something else they were trying to do to build character in this.
Hmm.
Because to my understanding, it was to add humanity to these characters who are not human. And it was really, really publicized that this was the first Marvel movie with a sex scene.
Yeah.
First off, that sex scene is like 10 seconds long.
Yeah, it's not like Monsters Ball.
Yeah, that would have been hilarious if just like the movie was exactly the way it is. And then it's just Uh, she's even doing the dialogue matches too. I don't want to say the dialogue, but imagine it.
And the guy gets up and it's just Billy Bob Thornton and he just walks off.
Oh god,
And he's just like, that's how you do a sex scene.
there's an uncut version of that scene with frames that you cannot unsee.
Oh man. You see Billy Bob's little Bob?
Not quite, but it's the shot that has everyone convinced the scene was real, even though they deny it.
Okay.
But talking about something that Marvel has been doing lately that I feel is overkill, and there's a scene in this one that does it too. It's actually just a line. It's a fleeting line, so you may think I'm making too big a deal out of it, but the way they've been constantly doing this thing with Peter Parker about how playing up how young he is, like when he calls like Empire a really old movie, and everybody's like, oh my god, he's such a kid or whatever. The way I felt like they were laying it on thick, where Sprite goes after the valet, I think, and she calls him young man.
Mhm.
And it's like we know the whole point of Sprite is that she's really old and just looks like a kid. It's literally the vampire in Near Dark. It's or Kirsten Dunst in Interview with the Vampire. It's the same thing. We know. But it's like they really like to lay it on thick when a character is supposed to be seen as like the age of a character, I guess you could say.
Okay, I'm gonna challenge you here real quick. I think for Spider-Man it works because you tell me this. In Endgame, when Iron Man gets off the ship and he sees Cap, what has more impact? I lost Peter or I lost the kid?
That I don't mind. It's
So
more
I feel like yes, they played up he was a kid, but I feel like they did it to drive their emotional point home.
yeah. Because I can't. Did he call Aliens a really old movie too when he killed Ebony Maw?
Maybe.
And that's like, and yeah, I think we mentioned that because it's funny that you and Aliens are the same age.
Yeah. Just call me old.
And what do you think about what's going on with Thena and how like because of her condition she goes rogue unexpectedly?
I mean, it keeps her interesting because she's another one. Didn't have a lot of personality, but she didn't interact a lot with humans because of her, as you put it, condition.
I think my favorite bit was because I like how much of a threat that is, having a very important member of your team and you're never quite sure when they're gonna go rogue.
You mean like Hulk?
Yeah, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And I even
Might
though
as well
that,
keep the comparisons in universe.
yeah, and
I mean, I
even
could have
though
spent this
that's
whole
good,
video saying that Icarus is Superman and called it a day.
yeah,
He
because
even has heat vision.
yeah. And it's like he even used him to do the Godzilla kill where he did it down the throat.
That was pretty cool, though.
It
That
was
was what Drax was trying to do.
yeah, it was cooler when Godzilla did it, but it works here.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that moment when Thena's starting to turn again, and I think it's Icarus that's standing there and sees this happen. And his response is just no.
I think at one point, like Gilgamesh says something like "not again" or something like that.
Yeah, because that was another thing, because like I said, because there's so many introductions, I remember that throwing me off the first time it happened. It's like there are things that the movie does give room to where you can figure out what's going on, and you don't need like necessarily bombard. There is a lot of exposition,
Mm-hmm.
and it does feel like bombarding in some senses, but others it felt like we kind of gradually got to know what was going on for ourselves.
I agree that there's a lot of exposition, but at the same time, I think with 10 characters, there's no way you were going to get away with establishing what you needed to without throwing in a little exposition.
Yeah, it just matters.
That's a
It's
lot
like,
of characters to show, not tell.
yeah, and it was like we were saying before about why they don't take part in the in like the Thanos stuff,
Mhm.
where it's like it's the explanation we get is perfectly fine the second time. The first
Mhm.
time it did feel like we were just kind of getting the, because like I said, I think it also just draws a lot of attention to it because Kit Harington's purpose here, until he's revealed, that he's going to be an important character. His purpose here in the meantime is just to literally be the audience and ask their questions, which when your movie has to have that character,
Mhm.
that's kind of the first sign of we may be dumping exposition a little too much.
What do you think if they would have done this movie in like two parts? Like normally I'm not a big part of the two-part person or like the two-part movie, but like do you think it would have been warranted if they did it here?
Maybe because I've seen people say this should have been one of the mini series, but I feel like even with the 10 characters, the miniseries would have been a stretch. They would have
So
there would have been a lot of filler if this was a series.
I'm thinking if you did it as a like a two-part movie, you could have the first part end right around where Icarus turns heel.
I could see that, and that would make the second half mostly action, which would be about where Deathly Hallows 2 was.
And yeah, and Endgame, the entire last half of Endgame is action.
Which, by the way, we got to give Eternals big credit for something.
Hmm.
The fact that the climax is essentially just fighting Bill Skarsgård on a beach. No colliding armies. I love it.
Is Bill Skarsgård the god or the celestial?
He was the deviant.
Oh, because I saw his name in the credits. I was trying to figure out who he was.
Yeah, because I was excited to see that he was in it,
Uh-huh.
and did not realize that it was basically that's akin to being excited that Kieran Hines is in Justice League.
Yeah.
but where Kieran Hines just did voice work, to my understanding, Skarsgård did do the motion capture.
So he was Benedict Cumberbatch as Smog.
Yeah.
Hmm. Or Sean Gunn as Rocket.
Yeah, or Weasel.
Yeah.
So I think I may have covered most of my notes.
Hmm.
So is there anything we haven't touched on yet?
The end credits scene. Not the one with Kit Harington, but the introduction of Harry Styles' character and the fact that he's like, I'm brother of Thanos. And you have to sit there and go, wait a minute, Thanos had a fucking brother.
And he looks like Harry Styles.
Yeah, Marvel has created a universe where Josh Brolin and Harry Styles are related.
Yeah, that's how much homework did you do on that? Because I have no
He has
idea what's
this
going on.
big of a paragraph,
Of course he does.
but it does mention that he's Thanos' brother and that he's an Eternal.
And he has a comedy, apparently he has a comedy sidekick in Pip. I guess that's gonna be a thing.
Yeah. What a weird fucking little guy.
Could you tell immediately that was Patton Oswalt? Because I could.
No,
Oh, did you just find out it's Patton Oswalt?
just now.
Oh yeah. Oh, when you hear his voice, you can tell.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to go back.
So what is Harry Styles as far as hero or villain, or do we know?
I am not sure.
Because of course, I mean, if somebody comes waltzing in and says I'm brother of Thanos, I'm gonna fucking duck. But he just, but I
Yeah,
mean,
because the other family, you've got Nebula and Gamora, and you want to duck from them too.
so it was like he looks like a hero, and they
Yeah,
didn't.
but he also kind of looks like he could be a John Walker type,
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
where he's got some skeletons.
Literally.
But it does make you wonder, like, I wonder if they'll reveal the next time we see the Eternals that, like, Thanos' plan was part of it was to fuck over the Celestials.
That could be. I did one other thing occurred to me.
Hmm.
I missed something I wrote down here. obviously they do this because of the way the action is shot. And a lot of movies do it, but they tend to do it pretty seamlessly to where I don't really notice. But were you really, really noticing the aspect ratio changes for the action?
I didn't really notice. No.
Yeah, it's like, I don't, maybe if I was watching it on a bigger screen, I was watching it on the screen I'm literally looking at right now, and you can see the aspect ratio changes constantly.
Mm.
And especially when it's in the middle of action scenes, it gets very distracting. Like I like the idea of the action scenes looking bigger in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like we saw that when we saw the Dark Knight Rises in IMAX,
Yeah.
but you could barely notice them, probably because the screen was so huge. But still, um, I don't know. And I feel like they've been toying with that a lot more lately for the home experience, because there are other movies. I'm sorry to piss off anybody for simply mentioning this movie exists, but it's just the first one that comes to mind. Um, when you watch like the 2016 Ghostbusters, for instance,
Yeah.
you know how the widescreen gives you the black bars. Well, there's movies like that where to give the action like more of a three-dimensional thing, like when they would use the proton packs, the stream would like go into the black bar, like it was coming out of the frame.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been toying with that a little more, and I can see them, like, that's the vibe I get as far as these aspect ratio changes and how the fights in the some shots are supposed to look much bigger than others, but it just happens like I said, when it happens like in the middle of action scenes going back and forth, was throwing me off, and like it's kind of takes away from how big the scene's supposed to feel when you can see it continuously closing back in. But if you didn't even notice, maybe that's just a me thing. But you also have a big ass TV, so
I didn't watch it on the biggest TV.
well, you had a screen significantly bigger than my laptop screen.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, I would have liked to have seen this while I was in theaters, but I was just so fucking worn out when it was out. So
Mm-hmm.
so anything else?
I'm just interested to see how Marvel turns everyone's opinion around about this movie too.
Yeah.
And I want to know where it is in the timeline. Like, they didn't mention any of the events from No Way Home, nothing that happened in Loki that I feel like they would have known about. So I'm kind of wondering where it fits in the timeline.
Was this one where it was like the
Well,
like
it came out before Far From Home, so it's not going to mention that. Or not Far From Home, No Way Home.
because there was the one thing where the pandemic switched up the schedule, where Black Widow was supposed to come before Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then they ended up
Yeah.
getting reversed.
Uh-huh.
I can't remember if this
Falcon and Winter Soldier was supposed to come before WandaVision.
So I can't remember if this was supposed to be earlier than it was or not. I don't remember,
I'm not sure.
because I feel like this got pushed a lot, but I can't tell if I'm thinking of like the New Mutants. Remember when the New Mutants, like, all it ever did was get pushed?
Yeah.
I felt like that was happening to this too, but I honestly can't remember, because I honestly had no hype for this movie because I didn't know what it was apart from being in the MCU.
I saw some theories about how this movie might become like story driven in later movies. I saw a theory that somebody had, and I know how you feel about theories, but I like to read them just to see what people were thinking. I saw a theory that somebody thought that maybe Christian Bale's introduction in Thor 4, since he's called the God Butcher, is that he kills an Eternal. And that's like his introduction.
That could be interesting. I know the theory I keep hearing is where Russell Crowe is playing Zeus.
And he kills Zeus
And
for his introduction.
Yeah, that'd be
Mhm.
fucking wild. And I wouldn't put it
Yeah.
past him either.
Mhm.
Thor 4 is going to be fucking nuts. I kind of can't. That might be my most anticipated MCU movie.
Yeah, Thor 4 is going to be pretty cool because you got the Guardians of the Galaxy back in there too.
Yeah, because I would be, as much as I absolutely love that movie and the character so much, obviously my hype for Black Panther 2 is significantly down for
Mhm.
multiple reasons. So So yeah,
Did you see where like Chadwick Boseman's families come out and they're like, just recast T'Challa?
I've heard people are coming around and they're hoping that happens.
I've heard two names that people have mentioned for the new Black Panther, and I can only think of one right now. And the one that I've heard people say is John David Washington.
Yeah, that's like John David Washington's one of those ones where I almost feel like he's too obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like if you were to say, "Oh, we need to recast a Chadwick Boseman role," he's just in that position in his career right now where he would just naturally be the first choice.
Yeah.
And he's got the action experience now after Tenet, so.
Mm-hmm. I thought that being within Disney, I thought they might go the route of maybe doing John Boyega.
I can see that. He may be done with Disney. He may
Mm-hmm.
if Disney comes back to him, he may tell them to go fuck themselves because he is not happy with them. He's very much in the right there.
Well, I mean, there also is the fact though that yes, Marvel's owned by Disney, but Marvel and Disney don't really work together all that much. Disney doesn't have any really production logos or anything. So it'd probably be pretty easy to buffer him from them. That's
I'm
just who he
wondering
gets
if
paychecks.
I'm wondering if they pursue certain actors for T'Challa, if intimidation might become a factor. There's actors that would have initially done it, but after how big the character is now, and the fact that they have to fill in Chadwick Boseman's suit, if they'd be too intimidated to take it on.
And it's crazy because he's got 4 movies, only one of which he was the main character to build the hype for that character.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's be real. Civil War did a great job of introducing him.
Yes, like the way I'm so hyped about the individual movie Black Panther, I feel like I put a lot of credit on that to how he was introduced in Civil War.
Yeah. So Marvel's got a lot of interesting stuff. The Moon Knight trailer just dropped. Like an Oscar Isaac's coming to the MCU.
This, like, I cannot even tell you how excited I am for Moon Knight because I have not the slightest clue who Moon Knight is. No clue.
I've used him in Lego Marvel for like 5 minutes.
And
I literally did it because I needed to do it for an achievement.
So he's played by Oscar Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
To my understanding, the villain is Ethan Hawke.
You understand correctly.
And to my understanding, Ethan Hawke's character is like based on like a cult leader or something.
Uh-huh.
And Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke are 2 of my favorite actors right now.
Here's something that interests me. You might not know this, but they're doing a series called Ironheart. It's about this girl that kind of takes over the Tony Stark technology and starts using it. She's from the comics too. She is in Black Panther 2. That character is. So she's getting her own series and she's going to get introduced in Black Panther 2.
If Black Panther 2 ever comes out and doesn't keep getting delayed.
Is it still 2022? Have they even started shooting yet?
They've been shooting, but they've had to take like multiple breaks because first Letitia Wright hurt herself. And now they just have like a COVID outbreak on the set. And of course she's anti-vax, so
yeah,
that's not helping. So
yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, but right now Thor 4 is where my mind's at. Thor 4 and Moon Knight. Moon Knight.
I'm hoping for the new series that are coming out. I'm hoping people are right that Armor Wars is going to bring back Justin Hammer. Bring me back some Sam Rockwell.
Yeah, he has to. We haven't seen him since that one shot that he was in for like a second.
Yeah. That's like what blows my mind is like, it's so funny that Marvel was so secret about like the Venom movies joining the MCU. And now they have a Morbius trailer and Michael Keaton's in the fucking trailer. Like,
yeah.
They're just like, they're not even keeping a lid on it anymore. So I'm guessing whatever deal they struck is very friendly for both sides.
So the big thing I keep hearing is because of what they are we to anticipate Morbius and Blade crossing paths at some point?
I think they do in the comics.
So that would make sense because he is a vampire, isn't he?
Morbius?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's primarily a Spider-Man villain. But I know on the animated show, like Blade helped track him down.
Yeah, that's Moon Knight is. I could be mistaken. Is Moon Knight in like the next couple of months?
I'm not sure what's next. I thought She-Hulk was next, but I don't think it's still June.
I'm thinking I heard Moon Knight was in March. That could be wrong, but
I just saw some set pictures that people posted of Emilia Clarke in Secret Wars.
I'm not even sure what that is.
That's another Disney Plus project. Another Marvel miniseries.
Something else we non-comics people will learn about.
Yeah. I think it has to do with the scrolls. So it might get some Ben Mendelsohn back on that one.
That would make sense.
Yeah. We still got to figure out what's going on with Elaine.
Yeah. That's supposed to be. She's supposed to have a big part in what that's upcoming? Something.
She-Hulk.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, I think it's She-Hulk. I can't wait to see what Shang-Chi does next.
And like we've always talked about, just the prospect that sooner or later these characters are going to have to be interacting.
Doctor Strange 2 is on my radar, especially after No Way Home.
Oh yeah, that's soon as well, isn't it? It's like early this summer, isn't it?
I think so. Like I literally like after that trailer ended, like I looked at Susan and I was like, let's fucking go. I'm ready for Doctor Strange 2 now.
I said, don't quote me on this. And the way things move around constantly, I hardly keep track anymore. I want to say Doctor Strange 2 is in May.
All I know is that they asked the guy that played Shang-Chi if he's in it, and he said no.
But is he supposed to say that?
I know. Who can you trust anymore? I've seen where people now, because of No Way Home, people want a third Andrew Garfield movie.
Yeah. That clip is making the rounds again, where people were laughing about the fact that there's a line in Spider-Man 2, the Amazing Spider-Man 2, where Garfield goes through like 3 accents in 7 seconds, and the line is like, "Yep, just one Spider-Man or woman. We don't know. Could be anybody." And it's like all the comments are now saying that was Andrew Garfield every time he was asked about No Way Home. There's all kinds of compilations now of Andrew Garfield denying he's in No Way Home in interviews, and they're hilarious now in retrospect.
Do you think, I saw a question that was asked, we're way off Eternals now.
Yeah, this is what happens in the Marvel videos, so we're good.
Yeah. But do you think that the characters that we saw in No Way Home, do you think they're done in the MCU?
Like MJ and Ned and stuff?
No, I mean like Doc Ock, Goblin, Electro.
Oh, the crossover ones. Okay.
Yeah. Do you think they're done in the MCU? Do you think we'll see those characters in like a different casting or anything like that again?
Well, he got such great feedback. I wouldn't be surprised if they find some way to bring Willem back. Well,
yeah,
like you talk about everything that's in No Way Home, almost everybody is just talking about Willem Dafoe, which is amazing.
the other parts talk about Andrew Garfield.
Yeah. By the way, did you see that Willem Dafoe is hosting Saturday Night Live next week?
No, I didn't.
I can't fucking wait. So, is that it?
Yeah. What's your overall opinion of Eternals?
Extremely. I feel like I'm more negative than positive, but there's some positives in there that I really, really like, and they're mostly about the character work.
For me, it lands at it's fine.
Yeah, the action in it does nothing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the characters, like Cersei, does nothing for me right now, anyway.
Mm-hmm. Do you buy into, and I know how you think kind of like me, so you probably don't think this is a big deal. Do you think the fact that they portrayed Phastos' relationship is a big deal at all?
No.
I don't either.
I know And I don't because there's yeah, because they really blow it up like it's this really. I mean, I guess you could say it's a groundbreaking thing, sure. But then there's like the other side of that where people are like, oh, it's so forced, but I don't really. Yeah, it's just there. It's just,
Yeah.
I'm sure people flip shit when they kissed. I'm sure of that, but I don't
Oh,
think.
there's parents that boycotted the movie over that.
And of course, the fact that we finally, for 10 very brief dark seconds, we actually see two Marvel characters fucking. Like the kiss, God no.
Yeah.
Avert your eyes, little Timmy. So is yeah, because they were really playing up the diverse thing in this one, but yeah, I don't really see much attention being like, look at us, we're this thing or that thing. So, yeah. And I think that's what they're going for, was it's just there.
Yeah, I think they were trying to show that like it's normal. It doesn't really add or take anything away from the story. It just happens to be the situation.
It's not like Brian Tyree Henry turned to the camera, broke the fourth wall, and said, "We're gay."
Yeah.
So
I do like his panic though, whenever when Thena's sword went through the orange and he was just like he just had to go up and address it.
yeah.
I mean, by the end, I do feel like they have more personality and they were more fun to watch. Like when the movie first started, I didn't know if I wanted to stick through the whole movie with them because they seemed kind of bland. But the movie did enough that like I'll watch them go through something else.
You could be onto something about that whole the more they interact thing. So yeah, and then we'll see now that Barry Keoghan played Druig, I guess we'll see what he does in the Batman and how he does in the DC universe, and if the rumor is true. He could just be a throwaway character in the Batman for all we know, but
it could be the Coleman Reese thing all over again.
Yeah.
Remember when everybody was like analyzing if Coleman Reese was the Riddler or what he was doing?
I remember Anthony Michael Hall was kind of getting that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was hilarious. Yeah,
dude, I love that we live in a world though where our new Riddler is Paul Dano.
Yeah.
Paul Dano is such a good actor, and he's so picky.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's kind of like the feeling I got whenever Joaquin decided to play the Joker. I was like, oh man, they're picky and they wanted to do this. There must be something of value here.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I've maybe mentioned this in a video or two, but when I saw the headline, Joaquin Phoenix signs on to play the Joker for Todd Phillips, I never in a million years thought that would ever actually happen. I was just waiting day after day for the news that Joaquin dropped out.
I was waiting for it to finally get to a point where there was no Joaquin and no Todd Phillips.
Yeah. Yeah, because it started off as like I don't think this was ever the case, but they started off trying to say it was going to be an actual Scorsese movie. I mean, it still is, but not with him in the chair.
Yeah. So yeah, the fact that Paul Dano selected it gives me reason to think that there might be something of value here.
There's got to be some people foaming at the mouth right now going, this is supposed to be a Marvel video. Why are we in this DC bullshit?
Because it's all comic books, and it's like anybody will tell you, like a wrestling fan, there's like a lot of wrestling options is only good for wrestling fans because it gives you more to watch. With these comic book movies, if you're a comic book person and you like Marvel more than DC, that's fine. But if you want to get your superhero fix, they're both pumping stuff out. I mean, DC's
Yeah.
not near as high quality. I mean, I watched Wonder Woman 84 recently, and
Oh
I was
God,
like,
I
oh
watched it.
man, that's I hadn't seen it.
You did it willingly?
I hadn't
You
seen
didn't
it.
you didn't have a gun to your head?
I hadn't seen it.
Oh man. I'm really sorry you had to go through that. My condolences.
See, but you have some movies that are like that, and then you have others like No Way Home. And sometimes you're in the mood to just watch one, even if it's not that great, just because the comic movie. The other day, I rewatched Batman versus Superman. Is the movie good? Not particularly, but I wanted to watch those characters do some shit.
I've rewatched Batman vs Superman more times than I care to admit.
Yeah, because I want to see those characters do some shit. I'm sorry, I'm in the camp of I wish I had more Ben Affleck as Batman. I wish I had more.
Are we getting that?
Him and Keaton are supposed to be in the new Flash.
And after the Snyder cut, he seems to have warmed back up to the idea.
I want more. I really like Ben Affleck's Batman. And I called it on this channel years ago that Ben Affleck's Batman would be better received than Jared Leto's Joker. And was I right? Until the Snyder cut came out and everybody's like, oh, that's the Jared Leto Joker we were supposed to get? Yeah, that guy.
I mean, not to give myself too much credit, Suicide Squad was already out. But I was the one that predicted Zach Galifianakis and Lego Batman would have a better reception than Leto.
But then the Snyder cut came out and it's like, oh man, if that was going to be Jared Leto's Joker, yeah, let's do that one. Because his scene in that's really cool.
Yeah, I keep hearing back and forth things about if the Snyderverse is still going to be a thing or not. So
Is it Marvel? No. Does it really like make me physically ill to watch these? No, because I like watching these characters.
That's a hilarious image.
What, to like pop in Batman versus Superman? I'm like, oh man, there's Jeffrey Dean Morgan. But anybody that pukes at Jeffrey Dean Morgan though has problems. But anyway, or his two brothers, or his brother Javier Bardem. But
I don't know if Steven Yeun's fans have warmed up to him yet or not.
like, I think the biggest thing with a comic book movie is the story may not be the best. And Thor the Dark World's a great example of this. That maybe you didn't like this adventure that they were on, but you like the character enough that you want to see other adventures that they might go on, in the hope that maybe they'll go on an adventure that you like.
Yeah.
Harley Quinn was a great example of that, because Suicide Squad came out and everybody was like, didn't really like Suicide Squad. Margot Robbie was great. And now we've got two more movies with Margot Robbie as Harley that were much better, had much better reception.
Of the Eternals, which one do you think would be the most likely to pop up by themselves in another person's movie? Kind of like when we got Anthony Mackie and Ant-Man.
I'd kind of like to see Doctor Strange and Phastos interact.
Yeah.
Them, or maybe like, I'll tell you what would have been a really cool interaction, especially in the first half of the movie. I would love to have seen first half, like South America Druig go up against like Captain America.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. I think, I'd love to see like Athena fight Yelena, and Yelena just doesn't quit. Like there's people I'd want to see them interact with. I want to see who this Arrows person is and what they're going to do. I mean, they've left me enough that I would like to see what their next adventure is. And I think when you do a comic book movie, that's, and if you want to put it in money terms, you want to make sure your characters are good enough that you can milk some sequels.
Yeah.
And if you have characters that are interesting enough, they can help get you through a not so great movie if you've at least got some good characters to watch go through this shitty adventure.
Yeah, because this one wasn't bringing it story-wise.
No.
But
It's like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is a great example. Like, nobody really thought Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was super great, but they were happy to see Indiana Jones.
I think shit. Don't know where that thought was going. I had it and it was gone. That time, that little bit I was sitting here in silence, it was sitting in there, and then I opened my mouth and then it left. Yeah, I think it was just something more about how the way they had to do their best to elevate this. Like I was talking about how like the nicest things I have to say about this movie are through the characters, which still aren't very strong, but they are more so than the action, at least in this particular movie's case.
Iron Man 2 is another example. The MCU could have caved in after Iron Man 2, and I don't think anybody would have been surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, because there was a lot, because I remember Iron Man 2 having to live up to its trailer did not go very well.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why I avoid trailers now. So
The Dark Knight Rises did the same thing.
Yeah. The Dark Knight Rises is in such a weird place in history, though, where it's like you still have people that praise it as one of the best superhero movies ever, and then you have other people that think it's probably one of the worst.
Yeah, that it's a mess and the plot makes no sense and it's all over the place.
It was the release of The Dark Knight Rises where the word plot hole lost all meaning. The term plot hole lost all meaning.
I think also an interesting factoid to remember about The Dark Knight Rises is it came out the same year as the Avengers.
Yeah, and
I think Avengers got there first.
And the Dark Knight Rises is probably still at least partially associated with the tragedy that took place when it opened.
Yeah.
Not
to mention that the whole movie, people were expecting a sequel with Heath Ledger, and we didn't get that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think with these movies, if you have characters that are strong enough to get to the next adventure, even if their adventure's not great, you're going to watch it just because you want to watch those characters do their thing.
Yeah. That's like when I think depends on the kind of comic book fan you are, because I know people like Kevin Smith have said he enjoys Batman and Robin for the simple fact that it's still Batman. I think that's a stretch. Not that I would ever question Kevin Smith's love for anything superhero related, but that's the kind of that there is a limit. But obviously Batman and Robin is such an anomaly of shit that it's a whole other line that we're not even close to talking about this stuff. So so anything else?
I don't have anything.
All right. So I've got a couple more reviews. I don't know if they will already be out or not when this goes up, but we'll find out. So I think we're supposed to do some awards things soon, but I don't know what exactly. We're going to talk about the guilds, but the guilds don't come out till the 27th. And we got to do our last big prediction for Oscar nominations video, but I'm not sure what these are. I got to contact Owen sometime tomorrow and figure out what's happening. And then we'll go from there. So anything else to add? All right, then I think that's it.